Hey guys, Doug Pedersen here. Happy Friday. Good day, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Doug Pedersen here, upholding my commitment to post something of value every Friday right here on my Facebook page. So today is week 18. We've been talking about thoughts, your brain housing group, and how to choose them. And so today we're going to go deeper, and the topic or the headline today is how to take charge of you. And so that's the headline, but that's also the question. So how do you take charge of yourself? How do you really take charge, especially when things don't go your way or when everybody around you might be doing their best, in your mind at least, to undermine what it is that you want? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. In those instances where it's really easy to blame someone else or to look at someone else as a situation being their fault. Now, I know we've all been there, and I know this is maybe a touchy point for some of us because a lot of us don't like to look inward and take accountability. We like to look outward. I know I've been there, okay, right? You've been following me for even, a little bit of time. You remember my story. I lost over 100 pounds over 20 years ago, almost 30 years ago, by eating a can of tuna a day for 6 months. And I can tell you that as a young person, as a young man, as an adolescent, in that state, not just that physical state of being extremely overweight, but that mental state, it was very easy for me. It was an escape to blame someone else, blame my parents, blame the teachers, why was I born this way, blame God. It was very easy to look outside myself and then feel sad or to feel inadequate, okay? But I can also tell you that from having gone through a massive transformation physically, but also mentally and emotionally, in that moment at 18, making decisions to take charge of myself, and then all the life that I've lived past that, is that's really where ultimate freedom comes from, okay? It comes from taking charge of your thoughts and choosing them. It comes from thinking for yourself, right? That's what we're talking about, thinking for yourself. And I'm not just talking about, what am I going to wear today? What kind of job do I want? What am I going to do after work? Should I watch this TV show or not? Those are all choices, but I'm talking about deep internal choices, right? Personal accountability, really understanding cause and effect, okay? What got me so big like that is because I chose to eat like a pig. I was a binge eater. And at some point I knew that what I was eating was not healthy for me. And why did I do it? I didn't know it at the time, but later on in looking back, there were a lot of emotional things. There were emotional needs that I was trying to meet by eating the way that I was, by overeating. I was looking for that certainty, looking for security. And so I looked to food to fulfill that, okay, in excess, okay? But it was me getting honest with myself and realizing that I'm in control of this. I get to choose how I feel. I get to choose where I put my value for my own security or the value for myself. Okay, that's real freedom. That's taking charge of yourself, and that ain't easy, okay? I know, because a lot of times if we have been conditioned a certain way or raised a certain way, we might not believe that. We might believe that thoughts just are fleeting, and they just happen to us, okay? But I want you to understand, it's 2019, and there's a lot of study, literature, books, research on how we do select our own thoughts, how we do choose our own thoughts, okay? If we don't choose them, who does? All right, everything starts in the mind. Everything either starts or is filtered through the mind. I'm not talking about the big mind and consciousness. I'm talking about the little mind, the brain in your body, the brain in your head, okay? So I hope this is resonating, okay? It really is important out of the 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day that race through your brain, that you turn them into your goodness, all right? That you master those thoughts. You take control of those thoughts. You don't let them run you around, you run them around, okay? So I give you my example of 20 plus years ago, but this is a never-ending process, okay? Just in the last 24 hours, I've had the opportunity to exercise my mental toughness, choosing my own thoughts, just like all of you have, okay? In the last couple of days, I've got small kids that don't do what I want all the time or follow my advice or my instruction or my loving parenting nature, which is hard for me when they don't want to do what I think is right. And in business, we've had an issue with a client that is looking for a big break without a lot of justification, a big discount which is hard to justify. And so anyway, what do you do in those situations? It'd be very easy to just let my mind go and victimize or vilify the situation or the people. Blame the kids, they're rotten, which I've heard parents say. Or blame the client, for insulting us or being cheap or, whatever the case is. But it's so much more important to find the positive thoughts and to look beyond your initial conditioned response and to see what's really true. In my case with the kids is that they're young, they're growing, they're learning, and this is how they find the boundaries. And so intimacy comes out of conflict a lot of times. And as I'm giving them boundaries, they're strengthening me, and there's love there. And with the client as well, you can't assume that you know everything of what's going on within someone's organization or within their business or even within their mind. And so there's other reasons why they're looking for the break that they are. And it's through communication and working it out and coming from a more authentic place to find resolution there is that we come. But you can only do that with a positive thought, with a positive thought about the situation and about the person. Remember, struggles exist for everybody. Struggles exist for everybody. And it's the meaning that we give them, the thoughts that we apply consciously that make the difference, okay, in the struggle. Remember, the sense of struggle is the struggle, okay? So get rid of the sense of struggle, right? You do that with your thoughts. 60 to 80,000 thoughts a day. Take control of them. Take control of them and they will serve you, okay? It really requires a lot of self-awareness. You have to understand when you're in a negative thought pattern, right? And the more you pay attention to what am I thinking and really how am I feeling, that stuff will come to the surface if you're not already aware. But a lot of times, these 60 to 80,000 thoughts, I think it's one thought just repeated over and over again. And we can get clear with our patterns once we start realizing, what am I thinking? What am I really thinking right now? Okay, so that's the task, that's the homework for today, is to try and figure out, do you have one or two negative thoughts that continue to repeat over and over again, or are there 3 or 4? Again, when I was going through my biggest weight struggle, a lot of what I was thinking is what I wasn't good enough. I'm not good enough. I was feeling sorry for myself. And so the thoughts emanated from those sources, okay? And they just kept repeating. I just kept repeating them to myself over and over again. Okay, the way out of that is reconditioning, right? Just like I conditioned myself to think that and believe that, even though it wasn't true. Luckily, I was able to unwind it. You have to recondition a new thought pattern. So once you identify the negative one, you immediately have to turn it around and say, up until now I believed, or up until now I allowed myself to think that I wasn't good enough. Up until now I allowed myself to think that that person did this to me. Up until now I believed that X, but now I know that Y is true. You immediately have to start thinking that and reinforcing it and driving a groove within your brain that allows connections to happen for you to open and to be more positive about it. So you got to override the negative thoughts with more powerful, energizing, positive thoughts. Okay, is this making sense? Making sense? Okay, so that's how you do it. It's all about reconditioning. You take charge of it, acknowledge the negative thought, then immediately overwhelm it with a more positive one over and over again. Say it out loud, write it down, engage your body with these positive thoughts, and it drives the groove even deeper. And you have to do it throughout the day and day after day after day until it just becomes natural and part of you. I guarantee you, as you do this, if you'll take the challenge, this is how you open. This is how you really are opening yourself to new thoughts and new goodness to come in you and through you that will serve you and others in some way in the future. Okay, so that's reconditioning. The other thing that you can do to really pay attention, once you have an awareness that, okay, maybe I'm not thinking as positively as I need to, or I've got some negative thought patterns within me that are very strong, you need to get honest with what the payoff is. Why would you be allowed, or why would you be allowing yourself, even on a subconscious level, to have the negative thought pattern, okay? Now, there's only a few of them. I've talked about the book, Your Erroneous Zones, written by Dr. Wayne Dyer. But there's really only a few payoffs that are universal to most of us when we're hanging on to negative thoughts that don't really serve us or aren't good for us, okay? It's the need for security, the need for significance, right? We're able to connect to ourselves, by thinking that way. Believe it or not, feeling insignificant is a way to meet that need for significance. My repetitive thought of I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'll never amount to anything, or whatever, was a way for me to feel significance, just at a very low level way. Feeling not important is a way of feeling importance, okay? Hope that makes sense. But you have to understand the payoff. What needs are you trying to meet with that? Or what are you trying to avoid? A lot of times we're trying to avoid the risk of being vulnerable, of putting ourselves out there to express love, even in the face of being rejected by someone, you know, and we have that fear of rejection or not being good enough. And so you have to find the value. You have to find strength within to overcome all that and to be able to put yourself out there, be self-confident, despite the vulnerabilities, and let the chips fall where they may, okay? And that's when you really start living. Ultimate freedom comes from choosing your thoughts, taking charge, thinking for yourself, and not worrying about the rest, not worrying about people's outcomes or their reactions, and being true to yourself, true to your nature, true to your center, okay? That's where it comes. But it's gonna take day after day, patterning, conditioning, you know, to get there. No easy task. All right, so 11 minutes. It's a big topic, so I wanted to really spend at least a few minutes to drive it in there and get your brain spinning around on what this all means. Take charge of yourself. Get 60 to 80,000 positive thoughts a day over and over again, and you're well on your way. Remember, the goodness that's in me is the goodness that's in you. You deserve it, so go after it with all you got. All right, guys, that's my time. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend.